thing to understand is that it's not about trying to change who you really are. It's all about stripping away that which was never you in the first place. We come to this planet and we get so conditioned by everything that society, our parents, the media, whoever wants us to believe ourselves to be, because everyone's living this illusion of having to be something that they're not, and we get disconnected from who we really are at our core. And basically it's all about a journey, come back to that remembrance of who we actually are, who we were before any of that stuff got taken on as a shell personality that we walk around acting under the influence of. There's not really us. And very often we don't feel seen, heard or understood because we're not really seeing, hearing or understanding ourselves. This is the issue, and this is the thing that I'm here to present to you today, to let you know that underneath all of that crap, the real you's trying to get out. The real you, the soul you, the you that doesn't allow fear to stop them from doing the things that you know is in your heart. The dreams that you had as a kid before people told you that they were stupid. The ideas that you had about the world before you were indoctrinated into religion. The way that you liked to do things before you were taught that that was the wrong way by teachers at school. We can all cast our minds back to times in life where we have been taught that to be ourselves was somehow wrong or bad or dangerous. And actually see how we took all of that on board and started to believe it. Started to think that it was true. Maybe straight away, maybe there was a trauma attached to it that actually conditioned you almost instantaneously, because this is what trauma does. When you suffer a trauma, it actually changes your brain instantaneously. The thing that people don't understand is that because of neuroplasticity, you can change your mind back, quite literally. And you do that by following your heart, and you do that by saying yes to the things in front of you that are calling to you, and you do that by not second guessing yourself. Of course, it's easier to actually not second guess yourself when there's not a ton of cognitive dissonance in the way. We literally fight ourselves on a daily basis. And when we fight ourselves and are constantly at war with ourselves about the things that we want, about the things that we're doing, about the things we want to do, because we don't know what's right, and I'm saying that and doing air quotes as I'm saying it, and what's wrong, basically we hold ourselves in this sort of position of being stuck. All of the work that I've been bringing through ever since I went through my own personal spiritual awakening, you could call it, is about this journey back to self. It's about going inwards. It's about all of this stuff. And I understand that it's my job, and it's the job of many other people, and there are other people that are doing this with people who resonate with them, and so on and so forth. You know, and you look around the personal development world and you do see people that you absolutely feel pulled to and other people you feel repelled from. That's quite natural. But there are many of us who are doing this work and trying to remind you of who you are. Saying to you, look, you're not who your parents taught you to be. You're not who your teachers taught you to be. You're not who society told you it was acceptable to be if you wanted to be loved. You're not any of these things. You're not who the advertising agencies try to convince you that you are. You're not any of this stuff. You are so much fucking more. That's the truth of it. You are so much more. And you have a legacy in you. I have a legacy in me. You have a legacy in you. Everyone, literally everybody on this planet has the potential to claim their legacy, to bring it into the world, to manifest it, to create it, to dare to dream. There aren't more special people and less special people, regardless of what people would like to have you believe. There are only those who say yes to their dreams and those who say no, basically. Let's put it that way. And if you're saying no to your dreams, and if you're thinking you're not special, then you're due a life of quiet disappointment. And when you're saying yes to your dreams, and when you're saying yes to that voice inside of you, and when you're saying yes to life, yes to the journey, yes to the opportunities that are presented to you to step up into yourself more. And I'm saying step up into yourself. It's an up and down process, because you're landing more of your soul in your body and you're also reaching for it at the same time. When you say yes to that, when you say yes to your soul, that's when the good shit happens. That is when the good shit happens, and you start to spiral upwards. And when you spiral upwards, you get more clarity. And when you get more clarity, that's when you start to land the really big ideas, and you start to see how it's possible to create them, and you start to understand yourself more. And that's when you start to open up your intuition more, and everything comes together. And when you follow what's in your heart and your passions, that's when the money can improve. That's when all of it can improve, because you're starting to come back to who you were always meant to be, which is who you were when you first landed, before you got convinced to be someone else. Do you see? Do you see what I'm saying? And you're receiving this activation that's embedded in this video, if you've said yes to it, of course. We don't believe in doing things without consent here. If you've said yes to it, you're receiving this activation. And you'll be thinking to yourself, as you're integrating, you'll be starting to see all the ways in which you have allowed yourself to be held in a pattern of stuckness that was actually self-created, because you agreed to the terms and conditions that other people put on you throughout your life. And you'll be starting to see how all of this stuff that you took on board, how it is maybe time to rethink it, maybe time to let it go, maybe time to move into a much more natural and organic feeling way of being, based on actual truth, your divine truth, rather than someone else's. And the other thing that you'll notice as you go through the integration of this activation, you'll start to understand, probably through your dreams and insights that come to you, those aha moments, you'll start to understand some of the things that you've been holding back from yourself in terms of the things that you want to create that you'd almost forgotten about because you convinced yourself possibly a long time ago that they weren't possible. These things, whatever they are, usually things that aren't so materially based so much as about experiences and adventures. That's what we come here for, after all. We do come here for experiences and adventures. There's not really anyone who comes to this planet who wants to just have a quiet life. Much as you might convince yourself, much as you might have been convinced by other people that this is the case, because the thought of it's an antidote to the chaos you see around you sometimes, all of which incidentally, or not incidentally at all, is actually co-created by you, because you're coming from a space of not actually being in alignment with your soul. That chaos, the chaos is showing you everywhere you are out of alignment with yourself. When you are in full alignment with your soul, absolutely all the way through, chaos just drops away. You don't need to try and control things outside of yourself. You see the order within things. You're able to literally bring the order out of the chaos when you are aligned with your soul. This is a fact. This is something I've experienced for myself, and this is something I'm sharing with you now, because the chances are you haven't worked this one out yet. So I'm here to deliver the news. Allowing yourself to spiral up allows you to see everything from a higher perspective, which means that you start to understand the purpose and the order and the symmetry in things where when you were in the middle of it you couldn't. It's like looking at the picture of the storm from above. There's actually a perfect order to it. When you're in it and you can't see it, it just looks like chaos. Everything serves a purpose. It's either pushing you or pulling you in various different directions in order to wake you up to yourself. You're listening to my voice now and watching this video because you were led to it, because your soul was wanting you to understand the message that I'm just here to deliver. This is the message. I know it will land with the people who are ready for it. When you're ready for it, that's the point where you start to see the pathway. You start to see the pathway out of the chaos. Welcome to the beginning of the rest of your life. It all starts here. You could say that on a daily basis, in fact. Think back to when you were a child. Before you went to school. Before you ever witnessed an argument between your parents? Before you were told all of the things that you couldn't do because of X, Y and Z, maybe it was that artists don't make money and so it's better to get a job doing something else. Maybe it's that you could never be a ballerina. Maybe it's that your parents couldn't afford to send you to medical school. Who knows? Each one of you, you're listening to this, there was something that was burning inside of you when you were a kid that wanted to come out. It could have just been that you wanted to perform and you didn't know what exactly, but you knew that there was a performer inside of you and you were the one that was always the centre of attention and always singing and dancing and tap dancing and entertaining everybody until someone told you to stop showing off. Maybe your parents decided that it was best if you were a doctor or a lawyer and therefore they groomed you for that. Maybe you just wanted to go and live in the woods somewhere in a cabin. Maybe that was it. Maybe you loved animals so much that you wanted to work with them, but then your parents told you to stop being silly and to do something that was more practical. Think back. What was it? Who were you before you were taught to be someone else? Who were you before you were domesticated? That wild beating heart of that small child that you were is still inside of you. It's just been hidden, locked away. And so we begin the process of reawakening it, of bringing it out into the open where you can see it and hear it and understand it and feel it and work with it. Welcome to the rest of your life.
There's a legacy between us. We grow, we go, but in the middle,
Concept that you're made of stardust is something that you can't really connect with that clearly until you start to delve into the inner working of how you are and join the dots with how energy and matter actually work. And when you do this, you start to see the connection. And you start to understand that, in actual fact, the particles that are inside of your body and in your energy field, part of this thing that we call the universe, and they've been in existence for millions, billions of years, and now they're part of you as you know yourself in this lifetime. And when you start to actually really get to grips with this concept, that's when you start to actually understand the magic of who you are as more than a concept. It's a little bit difficult to explain it in simple terms, but remembering who you are is about so much more than knowing who you were since you were a kid. There's so much more to it than that. And you, whether you know it or not right now, have the ability to access all the wisdom of everything that those particles inside of you have experienced. Isn't that a wild concept? Doesn't it blow your mind? I know it does mine. So one day, probably not too far from now, as everything I'm saying now starts to land more fully for you, because it'll probably take a while. It might not do, but it might. Depends on you, really. You're going to start to see how utterly fucking incredible you are. And not just how utterly incredible you are, but how utterly incredible everything is. The miracle that is you, and the miracle that is life, and everything that surrounds you. Let yourself get caught up in the wonder of that, really. Rather than being jaded and cynical about life. See the wonder. It's there, waiting for you to see it. And I'm not just talking about what you can see in the physical sense right now, but all of the other stuff too. Understanding that what you see in your dreams very often isn't just your brain processing stuff. There's information that's trying to come through to you. There's so much you shut yourself off from because your perception can't handle all of it at once, but you can open yourself up to it bit by bit. And that's when life gets really fucking good. Because it's not possible for you to spend very long being sad or pissed off about stuff when you can see the miracle that's unfolding all around you all of the time.